Hey, triumphant day for Scott Frost and UCF and Nebraska too. Thank you for joining us on this special edition of Channel 8 Eyewitness News. Nicole Cousins alongside Sports Director Brett Edwards, Ryan Hillman. Guys, probably college football's worst kept secret, but Nebraska made it official this afternoon. Scott Frost of UCF will be the Huskers' next head coach. Guys, first thoughts, what's going through your mind right now?
First of all, I'm thankful that it's over, the speculation is over, and that it's official. I'm happy for Husker Nation. Their native son is coming home.
Yep.
Very revered in Nebraska football history, as we've been well documented. I'm happy for Bill Moose as well. This is a tough spot, tough situation. He's only been on the job for a month and a half. And here he is in a tough spot, having to fire Mike Riley after 3 seasons, and now making the difficult decision to hire the next football coach. But he did a great job. He hired the right guy. This is who the majority of Nebraska fans want, and I think the administration wants as well.
Yeah, I think Nebraska fans will sleep good tonight. I think that's for sure, as they got their guy as he's coming back home. A great day for UCF, again, as they won the bowl game today, and a great day for Nebraska as Scott Frost is headed home.
Yeah, I don't think Scott Frost will sleep that well. There's probably a lot going through his mind, but let's talk his contract. 7 years, $35 million. That's a big one.
Yeah, $5 million a year, as Ryan alluded to earlier in our break-in coverage. He's going to be the third highest paid coach in the Big Ten behind Urban Meyer and Jim Harbaugh. So Nebraska willing to shell out the big money. He was making $2 million a year at Central Florida, so he's more than doubling his yearly salary.
And he's got a buyout as well, too, that they have to pay.
Yes, they had big money. Again, now they're paying 3 coaches, a couple athletic directors, a lot of money Nebraska's paying right now.
Of course, the surprising turn of events. He'll be coaching his bowl game, UCF, the Peach Bowl. That's a big deal, too.
Yeah, Danny White, the Central Florida athletic director, said that just a short while ago, that Scott Frost and his staff plan, as of now, to coach Central Florida in their bowl game, which is going to be a New Year's Six game, the Peach Bowl, obviously, and that'll be a great game. And I don't think that's going to hurt anything with Nebraska as far as recruiting or anything, because these recruits know that Scott Frost is coming here. So if Scott Frost doesn't become officially the head coach, his first day on job in Lincoln is January 3rd or whatever it may be after the first of the year, I don't think that's going to hurt anything, because these kids saw Central Florida throughout the year and what they were able to do. They're fun offense, fun team to watch. Scott Frost is a fun, young, energetic coach. And so I don't think that's going to be a problem if Scott does. They're still going to do recruiting. It's just going to be a tough balancing act between both schools.
And hard to stay at one place, but yet you're leaving. But he's got such a great connection with his players there, so I'm sure that's a little emotional.
I think one of the biggest words we've heard is loyalty, and Scott Frost is being loyal, and he's finishing with UCF.
And that's something that Bill Moose kind of tied into in last week's press conference. Hard to believe that was only a week ago.
Yeah.
But he also said, he wants a winning strategy here, and obviously Scott Frost, your guy, when you turn a 0-12 program to a 12-0 program,
right.
Pretty big deal.
Yeah, I think Bill Moose and Scott Frost are really going to get along well together. Obviously Scott Frost is from here, so he has the Nebraska roots. But when Bill Moose was hired, we alluded to, this guy seems like he's kind of a Nebraskan,
Yeah.
And a lot of people really like Bill Moose, and I think they're going to be a great fit together. And we'll have to see. There is a press conference tomorrow at 12 o'clock. We want to talk about that. That will officially introduce Scott Frost, and we'll hear from Bill Moose on a lot of things. And we're going to want to hear from Scott Frost on, just, hey, what's your offense going to be here? We were all talking about Tanner Lee. Is he going to stay? Is he going to be able to run this offense? What kind of defense? Obviously, Central Florida's defense had given up a lot of points this year. They play in a little bit different league, but we want to hear about those kind of things. And we want to. Are any kids from Central Florida going to come here? How many players from Nebraska are going to leave? It's all going to be a lot to unfold and watch over the next month or so.
Right.
Like you both have said, we'll find out more details tomorrow. But sticking with today, Scott Frost has already issued a statement. He says it is a great honor and privilege to have the opportunity to return to Nebraska and to lead the Husker football program. I have been fortunate to be at a wonderful school the past 2 years, but Nebraska is a special place with a storied tradition and a fan base which is second to none. I am truly humbled to be here. The state of Nebraska and the Husker football program mean a great deal to me. This is home.
And here's a statement from Athletic Director Bill Moose. I am thrilled that Scott is returning to his alma mater to lead the Husker football program. I truly believe that we have hired the premier young coach in the country, and that exciting times he's ahead.
Of course, Nebraska announced the news on Twitter as well. They said, welcome home, Scott, and players posted some of their thoughts. Eric Lee Jr., if we can get that up, he says, Bill Moose, official, let's get to work, he said. Des Moines personnel saying he wishes that he had an extra year to play, which is quite a big tribute. And Colin Miller saying Nebraska got themselves a good one.
Now, ESPN's Todd McShay caught up with Scott Frost right after the clock hit 0 in Central Florida's game this afternoon. Here's what he had to say.
Multiple reports, and I hate to ask, but multiple reports that you've accepted the Nebraska job. Can you tell me anything about that?
I'm going to go celebrate with my team.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Scotty! We love you, baby!
And I think that tells the story right there.
Tough question, but it had to be asked today. From high school standout to national champion to head coach, Scott Frost has excelled at every level of the game of football.
And now, after an undefeated season at Central Florida, he's one of the most sought-after coaches in college football, coming to Nebraska now. I took a look back at his journey to get there.
Rewind the tape 28 years.
And how about that? The visitors from Orlando
Before this.
flexing their muscle here in the second quarter.
And this. To Wood River, Nebraska, population 1,300, and home to a freshman quarterback named Scott Frost. A four-year starter, Frost racked up over 11,000 yards of offense and 139 touchdowns on his way to being named one of the best quarterbacks in his recruiting class. With his pick of colleges, Frost narrowed his decision down to two options: stay in Nebraska and play for his home team Huskers, or head west to Palo Alto and play for Stanford. Frost chose the latter, but after 2 seasons as a backup, he transferred to Nebraska. The rest, you could say, is history. Frost filled the void left by Tommy Frazier and did not disappoint, leading Nebraska to an 11-2 record and Orange Bowl victory over Virginia Tech. Things got even better for Husker Nation in '97, Frost's senior season. No team, including second-ranked Washington, came within 13 points of Nebraska in any game until a November night contest against Missouri on the road. Trailing by a touchdown late in the fourth quarter, Frost led in overtime, and the team finished the season as undefeated national champions. Frost left Nebraska as the only quarterback in school history to have run and passed for over 1,000 yards in the same season. He was drafted in the third round of the 1998 NFL Draft by the Jets and played 6 seasons in the league. After that, he turned his attention to coaching, working as a graduate assistant at Nebraska and Kansas State, then at Northern Iowa as a linebackers coach. In 2009, he signed on as the wide receivers coach for Chip Kelly's high-flying offense at Oregon, and 3 years later was promoted to offensive coordinator.
With that, it's my honor to introduce your new head football coach, Scott Frost.
In 2015, Frost was hired as the head coach of the Central Florida Knights, a team that won 0 games that season, and one he promised to turn around quickly.
Fans better buckle their seatbelt because we're going to punch the accelerator and go fast around here, and sooner or later that's going to lead to a lot of success.
His promise held true, with Frost guiding the Knights to an undefeated season in 2017, the fastest any team has gone from 0 wins to 0 losses in college football history.
Scott Frost in his second season, one of the hottest young names in coaching.
Which brings us to today.
Scott is someone that I am considering, but I'm being very sensitive to the fact that he's still coaching the team, and he's having a heck of a run.
With Mike Riley out and a fan base hungry for a taste of the glory days, Scott Frost is faced with a decision not unlike the one he made as a teenager: pursue opportunities elsewhere or return to the place where it all began.
Of course, now we know that answer, that Scott Frost is indeed coming home. Guys, I hope this is a jolt in the Nebraska football program. They really need it right now. As we talked about, Bill Moose saying it's a fragile fan base, fractured fan base right now. And so hopefully having Scott Frost, a national championship quarterback, a guy that's so well respected and liked in this state, coming back will just give this football program a spark.
Do you think there'll be high expectations? I mean, obviously what he did at UCF is pretty unprecedented, though. Not many people can turn an 0-12 program into a 12-0 program in 2 years.
There's definitely work to be done with the team, players-wise and everything. I mean, I don't know. I'd be happy with a 6-game with 6 wins next year. I mean,
tough schedule.
Tough schedule.
Yeah. We'll have to ask Bill Moose tomorrow. That'll be a great question. Is Scott Frost going to get a little bit longer of a leash? Mike Riley only got 3 years. He went 19-19 So will Scott Frost get 4, 5, 6 years? And will the Nebraska fan base allow that too? What happens, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we know right now the Husker fan base is very excited, and fans we spoke to have plenty to say about the news. Take a listen.
From obviously 12-0 this year with UCF, I mean, we see a good coach coming in. I mean, it's going to be fun next year, hopefully. You got a hometown kid from Wood River, played here, won national championship in '97. Obviously, obviously it's going to be real good for Nebraska.
Well, I think he has a lot of work to do, and I think he knows that, and I think he's going to get to work as soon as possible with recruiting, and I hope everything goes well for him.
You know, we got a killer schedule next year, so next year will be tough. Plus, he's going to have to get some of his own players in. But looking at the schedule, I think if he can finish 6-6 next year, get us to a bowl game, I think realistically that'll be pretty good expectation.
Tough schedule. 6 wins.
We hit on all those.
Hey, thank you guys for joining us. Still to come on the news, Ryan's going to have more on Scott Frost's hiring as Nebraska's head football coach. But first, we're going to take a look at weather. Alden's going to be in next with your complete 10-day forecast. A frost advisory for all of Nebraska, now turned into a warning, I believe. We'll be right back.